Welcome, everyone. We are live. Now, allegedly Friday, people were looking for me on YouTube but could not find me. Oddly enough, like, oh my God, I cannot tell you what happened, but I know I was here on Friday. I don't know what happened, but I know that live stream is up on Spotify and I was here. I can say that to you. I'm not going to not show up and not communicate, but my apologies because I don't know what happened. Um, I don't know. I scheduled as
YouTube.
normal. Yeah, I don't know. I scheduled as normal, and it showed that I was on, but apparently not. So my apologies, everyone, if you were looking for me on Friday on YouTube, Facebook, and TikTok, and you didn't see me. My apologies. Well, now I was talking to someone on the weekend, and the word force came up. Do we force things? See, it's not even that it's a funny word, force, it's not that it's a funny word, it's that sometimes we have so many words, but we're so used to saying words, but we don't we don't grasp their true meaning. Because if we look at it, we don't force things. Really and truly, if upon closer examination, we don't force things, but we can harness things because the energy already exists. Mm? It already exists. So there's a way for us to uh, wrangle it, and funnel it into where we want it to go, which is to harness. You harness the power. For instance, everybody talks about green energy now, right? Harnessing the power of the ocean. The ocean is always moving, yeah? She will always move. Undulation is the word, that backward and forward motion. And for us to get what's the ocean is doing, to capture that motion, capture the energy created by that motion, we harness, is what we do. Now, I know growing up in Barbados, because we are an island, we did a lot of land reclamation. Meaning what? You go out to a certain level and you start dropping boulders and you build on it and you build on it and you build it until you quote unquote push the water back. That would be forcing things because you're trying to prevent the erosion, which is a natural occurrence. You're trying to slow it down. So what they do is they literally force the water back. But for how long? That is a very interesting observation. For how long can one force something? And this is what we tend to do as people. We tend to force something, when in actuality, what's happening is an effect, right? There is an effect happening. Erosion is an effect, right? Erosion is an effect. So to slow it down, well, what's the cause of the erosion? Hmm. You find the cause and you modify the cause to change the desired outcome, right? We could look at it that way. But how does that pertain to life? Where in your life were you trying to force things to happen? If you see, if we would pay attention to what we do, we would learn to harness what we already have. Meaning, what are your skills? What are you good at? Then that is what you would use. But you see, what we tend to do, we look at what we've learned in our lives and we grudge it because we think it was bad. And listen, sometimes some of the experiences that we did have were beyond bad. Like, really and truly, they weren't just bad, they were vile, they were horrid. Yes, I get that. But through it all, There was something that you learned to become. Now, you might not believe in scripture. Again, that is irrelevant, whether you believe in scripture or not. But if we would comprehend what that scripture means when it says all things work together for good for those that love the Lord. All things, and who's the Lord, by the way? Hmm. You might think it is someone outside of yourself, someone far away in the distance, but that's never the case. That's not the case. The Lord is not this person or thing outside of you. The Lord is within. See that breath that you inhale and exhale? Oh, where do you think that is? Who do you think that is? Mm. So the next time you hear all things work together for good for those that love the Lord, well, who loves who? Do you love yourself? Let me put it to you in this fashion then, to harness. Even though some of the things that we have gone through have been and are presently going through are incredibly painful, begin to change your perspective of it. What have you learned? What have you learned? Have you learned to spot a particular mindset or attitude from a particular person? Let's use DV. I can't say it because you know YouTube, but domestic, yeah, right? What happens? You become hyper vigilant. You can see things that the regular society, because they're not privy to what you've gone through, you can see it. Now, instead of it being a burden to you, who am I to talk? Not having experienced it, who am I to talk? I'll tell you why I'll say something. Because everything that we have experienced has taught us how to become something. We don't ever have to become something hard and unmovable and bitter. We don't. If you have suffered in that area, you can now become something for other people who are in that space. Why? Because you are keenly aware of when it's happening. You can see it. You know the signs. How do you know the signs? Because you've been through it. So now, instead of trying to force yourself to, oh my God, I have to get over this. Yes, we do, right? But we're always going to have the memory of it because we don't have Alzheimer's. So you're going to have the memory. What do you do with that memory? Harness the power of it. Well, it has made you vigilant. It has opened your eyes to certain behaviors. It has opened your eyes to see who a victim is. It has opened your eyes to see who a perpetrator is. Has it not? Well, then, how can you use that to better benefit others, to help them with their own way and their own journey? You see, when that scripture tells you all things work together for good, I lived that example vicariously. I saw it with my own eyes. A man who, for all intents and purposes, was supposed to become nothing. He made a decision. He wasn't a man when he made the decision. He knew what it was to be abandoned. And I've never I've never understood how he knew what to do at such a tender age. But after meeting all of the people that he impacted in his life, because of what he went through, he could always tell. He could spot the abandoned. He could spot the lonely. He could spot the one who just needed a word of encouragement. And I I do not know how he had the wherewithal to do it. I don't know, but I know that he did it, and I was witness to it. I have no idea how many people he impacted, none. But he harnessed what he learned, he harnessed what he experienced, and he used it for his own betterment and the betterment of those around him. That was my granddaddy. So I may not have done it firsthand, but I vicariously witnessed these things and lived it through him. You see? So he personified Romans 8:28. All things work together. Well, how many things? Some things? No, all. So today, whatever it is you are going through, whatever that thing is, look at it. There's something, and I know right now it does not look like you can see any beauty in there. I know you think you can't see any beauty in there. I know you think I'm nuts for even telling you that there's something beautiful in there. I know. It's like companion gardening. Certain things love to grow together. What you might think is intrusive, what may now not look aesthetically pleasing to the eye, is 100% functional and will make your garden thrive because you planted these things together. You see, to the naked eye, it might look unsightly. It might look a mess like a wild and unkept garden, but it only appears that way. But when you plant certain things together, you can reduce the amount of pests. You can trellis things naturally. You know, things that like to run, little vines that like to run. Your strawberries love to run, peas love to run, squash loves to run, so you plant it with something it can anchor itself to, and it doesn't look pretty. But you're using the strength of each thing. Use the strength of what you are going through. This is the word harness. You already have strengths, but for some reason we see them as weaknesses. Some reason we see them as weaknesses. No. Whatever that strength is, use it. It exists. Harness it. Instead of trying to force ourselves to, oh my God, this is so bad. No. We if we take the time to examine that which we are and what we have, take the time to examine yourself. Reason being, when we examine ourselves, we harness. When we judge ourselves, we force. And well, you know how things happen. When we force, it's we create damage when we force. But when we harness something, we use the strength that is already there. See, when you plant that seed, it looks like it's forcing its way through the outer shell, doesn't it? You know, to break through it. It looks like it's forcing its way out. No. No. There's power in the seed. There's power in the seed. You have harnessed the power of the seed by planting it. That's what you've done. That's how come we eat. We use the power that is contained within the seed. We harness it because the life is already there. I can't force the life out of the seed. Oh, I'll give you an example. Today's the 24th. 3 days remain. And we're going to know if those eggs have chicks inside. I cannot force that egg to hatch. I can't. I have to wait. Just like when she's brooding, I can't force her to not brood, but I can harness the power of her brooding by giving her a fertilized egg to sit upon. I know lots of people who, because think about it, when she's brooding, she doesn't lay eggs. She's not going to lay eggs. So I have to buy eggs. And some people don't want to do that. So they think if they force the chicken to not brood, that they can get the eggs. They can make her lay eggs. You can't. So you harness the power of her brooding. You give her fertilized eggs to sit upon until whenever she's done in those 21 days. Listen, 3 weeks has never felt longer. God, 3 weeks have never felt longer to me in my life. Like ever. Because I've never had a hen, let alone one who was brooding. But this is the longest 3 weeks I've ever experienced. You see, because I can't force her to change what she is, but I can harness what she is to bring about something else. So if we pay attention to ourselves and the ebb and the flow that happens naturally in our lives, we see where we can harness to get the best out of ourselves. See, somebody wrote and they said, because I'm always in these there Reddit streets, somebody said something along the lines of, oh my God, I feel like I don't have any more joy in life. And I'm like, but they're like, how do I get out of this? And I'm like, whoa, whoa, slow your roll, man. What do you mean you don't have joy in life? Joy doesn't come from life. Oh, oh, wait a minute. Life is to be lived. And we're always going to have moments of sadness. We're going to have moments of happiness. So to force ourselves to not be sad, to force ourselves to not, quote unquote, hit a snag of depression. Because, we hear you got to be happy all the time. You got to be positive all the time. There is an ebb and a flow that happens naturally as we live. Pay attention to which phase you're in. Because you feel sad at the moment, it doesn't mean you're broken or there's something wrong with you. There's an ebb and a flow. What is the sadness saying to you? Where are you in that phase? But instead of observation of the phase, we try and force ourselves out of the phase, or you know how when you're happy, you want to stay happy as long as you can. So we try to unnaturally prolong the phase. No, when you're in the phase, harness it. Use it for the time that it's there. You feel good? Shoot, do things. Move when you feel good. When you don't feel so good, examine it. And say, you know what? This too shall pass. It is a phase, ebb and flow. And that ebb and flow, if we pay attention to it, is also the movement of polarity. You're in a phase. Oh, I have to stop and say this name. Erlinda Aguilar. Good morning, Erlinda. Good God. How beautifully that rolls off the tongue, Erlinda Aguilar. Fascinating. What a pleasure it is to meet you. We'll call everybody else's name in a moment, but whatever phase you're going through at the moment, there is an ebb and a flow. Scripture tells you weeping may endure for the night, but joy comes in the morning. If you pay attention to what that is saying, instead of arguing over which God said it and which God is real and which God is not. If we spent the time to comprehend what that means, it's showing you that naturally we're going to have a phase. In the winter, I know for us here in the winter, whew, the days, sometimes we're lucky if we get 6 hours of daylight in the winter. Now, as a direct result of that, sunlight does something to us. Sunlight gives us this chutzpah, this get up and go, you know? When we don't have the sunlight, we tend to drag and we feel the heaviness of the season because the light isn't there. But what do we do? Instead, because naturally, if you look at nature, naturally, when things get bitter and cold, we hibernate. Because naturally, as things get colder, they slow down. They don't move as quickly. Light causes us to move more. Darkness causes us to move less, naturally. But what do? We talk about, oh, I have seasonal affective disorder. I'm going to go get a sun lamp. And we force ourselves through that stage. Whereas if we would gently go through the phase and move less by conserving our energy, you see, because we think that darkness and winter has no function, but it does. It is a time of rejuvenation. But we don't do that, do we? No, we don't rejuvenate ourselves during the winter and slower time. No, we find a way to speed up what we do, thereby uh, running ourselves ragged. So we force ourselves through winter instead of harnessing the power of winter. The power of winter is to slow down, to recover. That is the purpose of hibernation. And we talk about, oh my God, I'm so chubby. It's called winter weight. In the winter, the more fat and insulation you've got, naturally it occurs because we don't move as much. Even our body knows this. We get that reserve to stay warm. Fat is a great insulator. Yes. But no, we see these nutmegs out here in the street jogging in winter. Oh, forcing. You see, if we pay attention, we will always see the difference between forcing and harnessing. Just pay attention. You take the time because look at what happens in the spring. The snow begins to melt. The cacophony of sound begins to emerge from the trees. You know, the birds, the bees. I was out in the yard and I'm getting some pallets. And I happened to be dragging the pallet. And then all of a sudden I started to see red. The ladybugs started to come out of the ground. I was like, oh my God. My garden is perfectly situated because, you know, they're naturally going to help with pest control because they love aphids. They're naturally going to assist me. So I'm going to harness the power of every single ladybug in my yard. And there are billions, believe me. So I'm trying not to plant over top where they are, per se, right? Just to give them space. But I can't tell because I can't see. So I just do the best I can, and they'll maneuver themselves around the situation. So I'm going to harness the power of their carnivorous behavior. Oh yes, right? So today, the inspiration for us is pay attention. Are you forcing something to happen in your life? Or are you harnessing? Hey, Casey. Are you going to force things to happen? Force change? or will you harness? Hmm. Pay attention and you'll see the difference between the two. You will see the difference between the two, but you've got to observe it for yourself because you have to see it in your own life. I can only tell you what to look for. The difference between force and harnessing. Harnessing is to gather what is already there so you can use it. That's what you're doing. Gather what's there and use it for your greatest and highest good. So now look at force. And when we force things, it looks like we're trying to suppress the true nature of something. When we force, oh, I don't want that to happen. So we try and we push, 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 push. But you see, rhythm, she always compensates. So however hard you push to the left, that's how hard you got to come back to the right. So when we harness things, we gently move it. Gently. But you see, when we harness, allegedly, that looks like it takes too long. We want it and we want it now. So we force. Hmm. Hmm. What a what an interesting observation. Where in your life can you harness your present situation to get the most out of it? Where in your life are you forcing? Right? Where in your life are you forcing? Learn to spot the difference. See, when we harness, it is effortless, you know. Nikola Tesla allegedly did a lot of harnessing in his time. He did a lot of harnessing. I was looking at one of my corn plants and it had water on it. I'm like, I thought dew only came when something was outside. No. I was like, wait a minute. That plant is generating something as it grows, which causes that water to appear as dew, a little tiny droplet. So there's water in the house, there's moisture in the house. And I was absolutely fascinated by the droplets of water on the corn, like the green leaves at the very tip. It was the most intriguing thing I'd ever seen. Just this tiny droplet of water on the tip of the blade of the leaf of corn as it's growing. This is why people tell you you can get water out of the air. But now I understand how. Through the growing process of something, it's like, I want to say, heat is generated, which causes condensation. So if you put a bag over top of that plant, you're going to collect water in the bag. Huh, who would have thunk it? That's what you call harnessing. It's harnessing. But no, we want to spray chemicals in the air to force rain to occur. When in actuality, everything around us can be harnessed if we know how to harness. And we harness through observation. You look at it and you see what is happening. So the exact same thing that is happening to the plant is happening in your life. Somebody died a few years ago because they used at Mahuang ephedra. Now, ephedra is a herb. When you use it, it makes you hot, eh? Makes you sweat. Thermodynamics. So they say if you sweat it out, you can lose weight. But what they don't tell you is how it happens. Ephedra opens up the bronchioles in the lungs so you can take in more air. Mm. What do you need air for? Thermodynamics, heat generation. But the problem with that is when you take in more oxygen, now you're using the heart more. You're using the lungs more. So if you have an underlying deficiency in the heart and the lungs that you don't know about, ephedra is the worst thing you can use because it will exacerbate your problem. Because now they're trying to force the fact that, oh, if I sweat more, I can lose weight. But that's just water that you're losing, thereby creating what? Now you got dehydration. And without that water in the system, oh, we tend to do what? The system can't work on dry. It doesn't like it. It has to have the water. So this young person died. And what was the reaction? They pulled ephedra. So now, if we need it in traditional Chinese medicine, it's a hell of a problem to get it because you can't use it on its own. You have to use it with a balance, check and balance, right? It's going to help you sweat, sure, thermodynamics, open the lungs, breathe, so it's good for asthma, those kinds of things. But now you want to use something that will slow down that process so that you're not injured. But because we try to force things to happen, we do not see consequence. There is a check and a balance. Every cause has its effect, and every effect its cause. And not only did they mix it with something, holy Jesus, they mixed it with bitter orange. Ah! Thereby exacerbating the problem. It's an accelerant of sorts, for lack of a better phrase, the bitter orange. You don't want that. You want to slow things down because ephedra is fast, so you want to make it move slower so as not to harm. So because we try to force, this is how aspirin causes problems as well. You see, it's part of the white willow bark. So when you boil the white willow bark, it's kind of snotty. Ew, it's kind of snotty for a reason. It has all of its pain relieving qualities, but you see that mucus, that quote unquote snot? It protects the stomach from the acidity. Oh, so you're trying to tell me that nature knows how to harness and how to balance? Yes. So that's why when you separate the acetylsalic acid from the mucus, we end up with what? A whole bunch of people running around with ulcers. Because nobody wants that, right? They just want the pain relieving part. No, use the whole thing. Just make a tea and you'll get the pain relieving qualities without the harm. Harness the power of what is already within you. You're already doing it. My grandmother learned how to do that with me. God, you couldn't stop me from talking, as you can well see. So she gave me a tambourine and taught me how to sing and taught me hymns. So that if my mouth was going to be moving, I might as well have a purpose. Harness. Hello? Listen, let me tell you something, Linda. You have this thing that you do naturally, and you think that it could be an eyesore. You think it's a problem. No, it's not. Learn how to harness your skills. Learn how to harness your skills. Oh, but I'm so shy. You have skills. Look for what it is. You're only shy because you're afraid of being judged and laughed at. That's the only reason why you say you're shy. But there's something that you have a skill to do. Do it. And you'll free yourself from a whole host of things. You understand what I'm saying to you this morning to show you the difference between harnessing and forcing things. So, where in your life are you forcing? Mm. Well, then observe what you're doing to force so you understand what you're doing. Just look at it. Oh my God, I'm so trying to make that thing happen. Uh oh. I already have something within that I can harness. I don't have to force it, I just have to harness it. But you see, when you observe yourself, and you see what you're forcing and you comprehend why you're forcing it, you'll change from force to harness because it'll be right there. It's so obvious, but it shows itself by way of observation. You got to pay attention, right? Listen, I trust that this is making sense. Let's welcome everyone into the space this morning. Oh, look, Twitter is as Twitter does. Okay. But I still love Twitter. Ow. Who's on YouTube this morning? Hello, Cyber. And is that Sadra? Sadra Sadike? Is that how I say it? Or Sadiq? I don't know how to say the last name, but it looks like Sadra. And then I have to say it again. Erlinda Aguilar. I just love it. Thank you guys for being here. Who's on fan base? Oh, Surreal is here. Al. Miss McQueen is here. The lovely KZ. Scroll, Angela, scroll. Honey is here. Hey, honey. You know the nature of honey, because I'm going to. Yes, darling. The nature of honey. There's a recipe I'm doing, and it says honey makes things soft and supple. Hmm. When you mix it in ingredients, the reaction that it has when you mix it in with something is to create softness because it feeds what's in there and thereby creating Melly Mel is in the house. And because of the reaction, the chemical reaction, it makes whatever it is in softer, sweeter, supple. That's what honey does. Isn't that something? Isn't that something? Anywho, it's just that honey, I just saw honey in the room on Fanbase, and so it triggered that I have to go pick up some actual honey from the bee guy. See, like now that's what you call harness. Bees are gonna make honey with or without you. So give them a hive where they can live and they'll make honey. They'll do what they naturally do. And you just come along and say, oh, well, isn't that sweet? Can I have some of that sweetness? And you just, you gently share it with them. You share it with them, right? So you see, harness, harness. Marigolds or stinky missies, they're so beautiful, but God, they smell bad. But you see that smell, if you plant it in your garden, it will keep bugs away. Harness the power of the marigold, of the stinky missy. Harness that power and use it. Don't just go, oh my God, I can't stand the smell. The reason you smell them is because you get up close with them, you put your nose on them. Oh, yeah, don't do that. Right? But harness their power. So you see today, my beautiful friends, that is the difference between forcing and harnessing. Look at your life and examine it. Where are you forcing something in your life? Understand why you're forcing it. Well, you wouldn't be forcing it for shits and giggles. You're forcing it for a reason. Usually fear. But look at your life. What are you forcing? And once you examine it and you see why you're forcing it, ask yourself, do I do something naturally that I can harness? Oh, you know what we call that in marketing 101? Girl, you leaving money on the table. You got all of these skills, you can use them. They're trying to tell you, harness your skills. That's why when you say you monetize it, you're harnessing it. But should everything be monetized though? Hmm? Hmm? I mean, really and truly, it's just a question. But anywho, I don't want to keep you because I gotta go to work. That's right. I gotta go to work. But anywho, I just wanted to bring that to your attention this morning so that we can pay attention to what we're doing in our lives. Seriously, pay attention to what you're doing in your life. Pardon me. Because when you pay attention to what you are doing in your life, you will see where to change and you will see how to change. What you think is supposed to be rocket science, change? Change is an effect. Hello? Change is an effect. So it is inevitable because every cause has its effect and every effect is cause. And because we're always moving, we're always going to be changing. So look at your life. Do not complain about the life that you presently have. Oh, I'm sorry. That was that a bunion I stepped on? My bad. Let me ease off a little bit and say it to you in a sweeter way. I know and I understand that sometimes we go through things in life. Yes, I know that we do. But remember, it is not a blame thing. It's not a victim thing. It is an observation thing. Observe what is happening to you in your life and recognize that it is an effect that you're experiencing presently. And every effect has its cause. And the cause is always mental. Indeed, it is. It is always mental. It is always going to be the way you perceive it to be. Your mentality about the thing can either make it palpable or palatable for you, or it can make it bitter for you. You see, we all must work. Somebody asked me that at an interview. Why did you apply for this job? And I thought to myself, how do I say this without saying jackass? How do I say it without pulling a Matlock? I applied for the job because it's something I enjoy doing. And I will choose to do something that I enjoy so that I can submit to it every day without complaint. There's no sense in getting up every single day and cursing the thing that you do. Why? To what end? It only brings about your suffering and your detriment when you do it. So choose something that you can abide by doing, something that you can enjoy. Because it's not every day that you're going to enjoy it, but if you enjoy it more than you complain, well then, ta-da! So you see, it is going to be perspective. No, Granddaddy did not enjoy cutting cane. Just like my mother doesn't enjoy picking cotton. But you set your mind to the task, and you see the bigger picture as to why you do what you do, and you recognize this too shall pass. So where in your life are you cursing an experience? Stop it. Examine that experience. Don't curse it. Don't judge it. Examine it. What can you develop in yourself by doing that thing? Can you develop organization? Can you develop resilience? Can you develop patience? Well, then, harness the thing that you are doing to, let me put it to you this way. Your job is like a whetstone. Do you know what a whetstone is? Let's go back to Sesame Street. There's a hole in the bucket. There, Liza, there, Liza. So by the end of the song, he had a hatchet and he had to sharpen it. A whetstone. Use your job, whatever it is you're doing, use it to sharpen your skills. Use it to sharpen your skills. If you say, oh my God, I can barely remember anything, use your job to help you remember things. You think anybody was born with a good memory? No. We practice remembering, thus we get good at it. Use whatever tool you have at your disposal to sharpen you. You see how you do it? You see how you harness the job now? The job may seem repetitive, sure. What can you learn? That means you can see patterns. Where else can you see a pattern? Because a pattern will always emerge, will it not? So use what you have instead of cursing it. Because remember what happened to the fig tree. See, the fig tree didn't bear any fruit, and thus he cursed it, and it withered and died. Don't curse your job because you think it is not bearing any fruit for you. Harness the power of your job to hone your skills, sharpen your skills. That's what you do in every facet of your life. Maya Angelou said, when you know better, you do better. So clearly, if you learn to do better at your job, you will do better. And an opportunity will present itself. Because your mental attitude will change from, oh my God, I hate this, to, how much better can I get at this thing? And the moment you start and you shift from, oh my God, to, oh, how much better can I get? The moment you shift from that to the other one, you have done what? Planted the seeds of opportunity. And when you plant the seeds of opportunity, well then, my brothers and my sweet sisters, you will do what? Reap a harvest of opportunities. Oh, you didn't think it was that easy? Oh, but life is beautiful, is it not? You just have to see it and harness it. It is beautiful. So when you change the perspective, you will see the beauty and you will see where to harness it. Yes. So stop talking about, oh my God. Stop. Just pay attention. What seems to be is to those to whom it seems to be. William Blake. What seems to be is. So however you see it to be, it is. But don't let me holler at you. Don't let me holler. You might get chicken. I don't know. He's under the couch. Because for some reason, that's where he is. But you know you're going to get chime today. And when you hear the chime today, have grace upon yourself. Have mercy upon yourself. How? By not cursing where you are in life. Well, how does one curse where they are in life? Oh my God, I hate it. Yeah, you're silently cursing it and grudging it and judging it and hating it. But remember, as within, so without. Hello? What? As within, so without. So if you're walking around casting aspersions and cursing and hating where you presently are, you make it worse. But if you see it and examine it, you will see a way out and you will see a way through whatever the situation. Whatever the situation. Well, what was that? Whatever the situation. Whatsoever you ask for in prayer, believe that you have received it and you will. Whatsoever. Remember Romans 8:28, all things. So it's telling you your situation is irrelevant. Why is it irrelevant? Not that it's not worthy and that you don't matter. No, it is irrelevant in the fact that you can overcome it and you can move through it. That is what makes it irrelevant. The situation does not have power over you. But what seems to be is, if you think it has power over you because you judge it and you hate where you are, it will have power over you. But if you change your perspective about the thing, you will see how to set yourself free. You'll see it. And you know what happens when you see your way forward? Uh-oh, you take it, you go. That's why they say, I give you an inch, you take a mile. Well, of course, when you see. So that's why I'm saying to you, whatever the situation is today, it doesn't matter what situation you think it is. There are many situations. It doesn't matter the situation. The situation bends to you. How? By you looking at it and examining it without judgment. Why without judgment? Because when you judge it, you blind yourself and you won't see your way forward. But if you look at the situation, you go, show me the pathway through this. You'll see it. And then you'll take full advantage of it. You'll know exactly how to act, will you not? And thereby you will have done what? Manifested your own freedom. Anyway, let me go get the chime. Because I've been yakety yakking. My poor grandmother. You know she rolling. Initiated. 5, 4, 3, 2, 1. Much love to each and every one of you. And you know I'll see you in the morning at 7 a.m. Eastern Standard Time. And you know I always look forward to seeing you and hearing from you. And I just need you to know I do love you. Truly, I do. So go forth into this day with a new attitude. Oh, indeed. With a new attitude, the power to harness every situation for your greatest and highest good. And no, don't ask the question, but is it gonna hurt somebody else? Aww. Why would you infect yourself with that thought? You see, the thing done for the greatest and highest good always benefits everybody around. But you know, it is what it is. Hmm? It is what it is. What seems to be is to those to whom it seems to be. So I will see you on the morrow. Yes? I do love you. Peace out, YouTube and Facebook and TikTok. I see you. Toodaloo. And Twitter. You know I love you, Twitter. Twitter is closed. And